I was left with 7 broken bones. I had stitches all over the place. My brain was rattled. I thought it was all over.
What do you think is the biggest red flag in a person?
2 things. If someone will not meet your family, and if someone is in business and they don't have long-term friends, that means that they probably screw over everyone they're around.
Nick Spina is a Forbes and USA Today featured CEO and founder, here to teach you about the dark side of business.
Your people closest to you, they are the ones that are more than likely going to fuck you.
How you can be as successful as him.
Determination outruns smarts almost every time.
And so much more. Do you have tips for maybe the shy 21-year-old or the shy 18-year-old that maybe not the most confident?
Every single person feels the same way that you do. They're worried about themselves. They're thinking about their own situations.
The whole thing about like you can just get the feeling of like someone has bad energy, that it's such a real thing. Like it's a
Intuition.
very real thing. It's like a
Yeah.
gut feeling. We had
Right.
we had some, or I had some like that in college with this one person. Like I won't get specific, but there was just, and I'm gonna sound like a freaking crazy guy right now. And it's like this is after reading the 48 laws of power and like the laws of human nature. So you get really skeptical of like human nature and like motives, but there was this one kid in this group, and he was, and I know 100%, and I talked to other people, but he's just going behind my back because I was the leader of the group, and we were advising a group of people, and just pulling all these strings behind the scenes, and he was trying to be the one in control. And you could get this vibe, and it was going against everything of the culture we were trying to set. Everything against the culture set, but you could get this vibe. And I think the only way to better that, like, there is no conversation. It's just you gotta disassociate yourself and get away from that person and get them off, because culture, I mean, it'll just crash and burn. I'm curious, have you had situations like that?
Oh God, yeah. For sure. It's you know what? There's not just one way method of communication, right? There's body language. There is it's also the things that you do say, it's the things that you don't say.
Yeah,
Right? Like if someone isn't backing you up in a room full of people when you're not around or
yeah,
something like that. So it's these all these characteristics are kind of especially as you get higher up in business, these are things you specifically look for in people, for the good things and the bad, and you can kind of quickly tell who someone is just based on the things they say and things that they don't say. But
yeah,
also when it comes down to it, integrity is at the root of, or also too, are people, the things that they're saying, are they following up on and actually doing? Um, that's another really big thing. So,
is that what you define integrity as?
yes.
Okay. And when we were together, and I think I referenced it in the video, like that was like the one of your biggest things I took away. You're like, it's all about integrity, integrity, integrity. There had to be something that got you to that point, right? We're not born with, oh, everybody needs to have integrity. It's kind of learned.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, where, I thought was really fascinating thing was it's so simple. It's like relationships. You don't just like get into friendships, relationships, business partnerships. They're not just given like immediately. They're built,
Right.
right? Like these things are built, relationships are built, so that is something where you actually have to like put in that energy to that relationship, the thoughtfulness. And if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And also, if something isn't going to be done, then you say that you can't do it.
Right.
So that's something where that's full integrity. And what I notice is in teams specifically, a lot of people don't like to deliver bad news. And but the thing is if you're not delivering the right, correct news to your partner, whoever it is, or partners, then you can't navigate the ship properly.
Mm.
So if I just want to give you good news to keep the positive zeitgeist in the room, that's not doing any good for the business, because if something's broken, I want to know about it and I want to be able to fix it. And that's how you build long-term trust in relationships and partnerships, and that's how you create massively wealthy companies,
Yeah.
because you're able to actually fix what's wrong. The amount of staff that I've had in my time, I've had over 400 staff probably well over that by now. But and the one thing that I do notice is that a lot of people want to look like they're doing good in an entity, but the challenge with that is that what managers and what executives are looking for is making the right decisions and not the feel good decisions, right? So when the staff are reporting up, they want to look like they're doing a good job, so they'll say things that will make them look good, but in
Yeah.
reality, things could be falling apart, and then the above management can't notice that with the below management. So that's why integrity is really the thread that holds the company together, and you can't look past it.
Do you see okay, yeah, yeah, I 100% agree, and, like, like, my partner with this Jack right now, like, he's gonna watch this, he edits his video, he's the absolute man. I tell him all the time, "Bro, like, give me the honest truth," because he watches these, I'm like, "Tell me where I suck at," because that's really good stuff. But don't you see the other side, like, the other perspective? For someone who would wanna people please, like, I think this is a I mean, like, I'm working in corporate now, I had corporate internships, like, there's so much people pleasing bullshit 24/7. Like, there's this one internship I had, it's like, bro, everybody shows up at like 10 a.m. every other day, but then the director comes in and everybody's trying to getting all dressed up now and doing this. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is just a joke. Like, you see the other perspective of why people do that. Is there ever a circumstance? Now we're talking about now you're giving advice to people my age. So like just entering their internships and jobs. Do you think it's good to play the game of politics at all and put on a
L-
mask or no?
l- Look, I always think that, in the end of the day, the importance in this is actually not. I mean, you number one, you want people to like you, okay, and
Yeah,
that's just human nature. Um, but what you really want is the respect. There's a difference between people liking you and people respecting you.
mm,
And what I mean by that is that you can get that respect, and that's what will take you places, is that respect. I mean, people might like you, but does that mean that you're going to fill the next position and get promoted quickly, or is it the respect? It's the respect more than likely. And they're going to say, okay, is Anthony capable of this? Do I trust him to do the job?
yeah.
So that's what you have to really hone in on, what's important. Um, and that's also what I think will separate between, the winners and the losers, simply. But it's simply saying, hey, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do a good job. If I don't know something, I'm going to figure it out,
Right.
and building that confidence in your abilities. And that's what I believe will get you kind of to build up through the corporate ranks for sure.
Do you wanna know the like, my player comp for you? Have you ever heard that term? Like, player comp?
No, it's
It's like, what it's like comparing yourself to a person, like another person in society that you remind me of. And so, when we were, like, walking around in the morning, like, hanging out, I told you remind me of, like, my Uncle Mark. And that's definitely a compliment, but I thought about it more and the idea just popped into my head. Do you know who you remind me of?
who's that?
You remind me of Jake Paul.
Oh, really?
And part of like what's Jake Paul's whole thing? I think he's he's and this is the part where you don't remind like he's a huge showman, right? Like he tries to put on this persona, like he's this cool guy, he's kind of a mean guy, but like truthfully inside, this guy's got a ginormous heart. Like if you break down Logan Paul and Jake Paul, Logan Paul is the guy that seems like tries to put on the mask that he's super friendly and loving, but inside I don't think he is. Jake Paul's the complete opposite. Huge heart, a lot of integrity, good guy, caring. That's just the vibe that I got for you, and my question is, like, were you always that way? Like, did you grow up with the big heart and the kid that was always trying to give back and help people out? Or was there something that made you switch that way? Because I think that's really given you a lot of momentum and taken you to the place where you're at today.
I think that you're right on that point. I think that empathy is something that I mean, people quite frequently bring up, empath, like I'm an empath or whatever. And as that may be true, I don't know or really care about the title, but I think that I've probably been through more hard times than the average person.
Mm,
And so I also to just part of my personality is that I want to see people do well. And probably because I've had a hard time in like many times in my past and battled through it. And then I sympathize with people going through things. So I genuinely want to see people do well. And that's what I really thrive off of. And which is a pro and a con in business because I might want people to do well and I push them to do better, but they might not be capable of doing better or
mm.
handling the pressure or whatever it might be, or pushing the wrong people who maybe don't deserve it. So, but it's also a pro. I think there's more pros than cons for sure. But yeah, you're right about I think I mean I've always as a kid I've always cared, but yeah, I've been through so many different really tough scenarios, in my personal life and in business that it kinda just shapes me to care probably a little bit more than the average person, or maybe a lot more.
And, like, when you say hard time, are we talking about, like, a rock bottom moment? Are we saying backs
I've had
against
m
the wall? Like,
I've
what?
had many. I've had many of those.
What,
I've had met I've had many of them in business where, there was days where I thought it was all over, and,
all over?
um and in life. I mean, when I was 18, I got in a very serious situation where I had 7 broken bones. I had a lot of stitches, and it took a while for me to come out of that. And uh, hospitalized, I had kind of a period of going in and getting brain scans and all that kind of stuff done for like a year afterwards, type of thing. And um, I flunked out of school at the time, and that was hard. It was, super hard, but, the one thing that I do believe in is, um, time heals everything,
Mm,
and, that was something that I just truly believed in at that time was that, I'm gonna get past this, and if I do get my full abilities back, I'm gonna make something of myself. And so that kinda built maybe my character as a young entrepreneur to always have this need to want to do something with myself. And another thing too is, what I thought would kill me physically and also in business, uh, didn't kill me. And so that was something that as you're going through it, it might seem like the hardest thing at the time, but as you get bigger, the problems just get bigger and the challenges get bigger. But something I get really high off of and I do really well is operate under pressure
mm,
and being able to make really good, quick decisions under pressure, even if you're not going to see the benefits of those, decisions for months to come or something like that. But following the logic in it, not the emotion, and that's something I promise to myself is always follow the logic in situations, not emotion, but and do the right thing. And yeah, I mean, I've had problems in business where I thought it was game over, many times, and we just kept plowing through all these problems, and here we are, and we're building one of
yeah,
the most, potentially most valuable companies in the world, and the world needs it. But it's one of those things where when I see someone else maybe going through a situation, or maybe not, I'm really empathetic for that, and I just want the world to be a better place genuinely.
mhm,
So, and I think the world needs it. Otherwise, what's the point in doing anything? Like, if you're not able to actually make a positive impact, like I don't like. Do I care about being rich? Not really. Like, not really for myself. do I care about having resources to make the world a better place, and also hopefully inspire people and people that work with us and partners to build themselves. It's like it's kind of like the bloodline of the business, right? You're
Yeah.
able to have more resources to do bigger and better things with. So, um, yeah, that's kind of my
I,
view on
uh
it.
I wanna speak for the audience right now, and myself. I think something that I've taken, like, a lot of pride in trying to get better as a public speaker is, like, always storytell and always wrap something in because it really evokes emotion and makes an impact on people. And so I think the question everybody's asking is when you say you have those really hard times, whether it is in life or business, I know it may be personal, and that's alright if you don't wanna share, but are you able to walk us through any of those?
Like about the specifics on what happened.
Yeah, it seems like you've got a lot of moments. Like, is there one story that it's like, "Shit, like, if I tell this story, I know that this will leave, like, a lasting imprint on some kid's soul out there, and it's gonna help them in whatever they're trying to accomplish."
Okay, yeah, let's dive in. Let's get into it. Are you ready?
Alright.
Where do I start? So, um, talk about the punch in the gut type of stuff. I mean, we won't dive into what specifically happened, but I was left with 7 broken bones. I had stitches all over the place. Um, my brain was rattled, and it took me a long time to recover on that. So imagine waking up in a hospital bed and, your bed's covered with blood and you're covered with blood. Your clothes are cut off of you, right? And your parents are at the end of your bed crying. And
Did you know what happened, or you just woke up and you're there, and you're like,
I
what's
knew
going
I knew
on?"
what happened, but
Okay.
I was out of it. Like I was completely out of it. So yeah, I went through that moment. Um, which was unfortunate. And then I also in business when you think it's game over and but there's this no bone in your body that will stop fighting. And these business situations in the early days were more severe, and business is harder in the early days because it's harder to make money at such a it's harder to attract capital, it's harder to attract talented people. You don't have the resources. So in the early days, I actually quite find that they're harder than where we are today, even though the challenges are seemingly much bigger, but we have the capital to deal with it. We've got the management and partners to be able to solve these challenges when really before it was just me.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, like I mean, back in the early days, and this is like before we it was just me essentially as the only shareholder, and um, we made a deal with a group to um, put a bunch of money in, and then out of Ireland actually, and I think it was 2 million bucks, which isn't a lot of money at the time. It was everything though, and then what happened was they gave us I think 500 grand, and they were supposed to give it to us every month or something like that, and that was strictly to go to marketing. So essentially, we spent all of our money on marketing to grow the business, and then all of a sudden 2 days comes to what's it called 2 days comes to deploying the second tranche of those funds. And I called them and I said, hey, can you get ready to send the second tranche? And they looked at me and said, sorry Nick, our business has gone belly up. You're not getting any more money. And I looked at them and I just said, I just spent every single dollar I have. 'Cause I thought that by signing this contract, it was locked in, and that's another thing is
Oh,
that,
shit.
I thought it was locked in and that it was guaranteed to come, but nothing's guaranteed until it's in the bank. So that's something to, think about as well. So anyways, they say, "You're not getting the money," and I have payroll in 2 days. So I had to come up with like 200 grand or something like that in 2 days and whatever. So, but that was like one of those moments where it was like, even though something's signed, it doesn't mean that the deal is fully done. Another thing is that um, your people closest to you, you really have to keep a really good, keen eye on because, and as much as I am hopeful and positive about people around you who are closest to you, but they are the ones that are more than likely going to fuck you.
Really?
And what I'm talking about is if, and this is literally the situation when there's a lot of money involved, a lot of money, okay? Like, if you go to your best friend, and say, "Hey, let's partner in on this business," but then all of a sudden the business starts doing well, and then they can make a lot of money by fucking you over somehow, like, what number is that? Is that $1,000,000? Is that 5,000,000? As the business gets bigger, it starts creating more value, and if they can push you out of the company or something like that for them to benefit out of it, it's something that they're gonna think about. So that's why it's so important to find good people, at the root of thing, and it's really hard to find really good people. So anyways, what I say about that is, um, it may happen and it may never happen, but you always have to make sure that your contracts are straight and your agreements are straight from the start with all the people that you work with. So there's no confusion.
Wait,
Um,
so
I've 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 had gray-haired people come into my business that I hired that tried to push me out and take basically the whole thing and awarding contracts that I didn't even know about to their friends for, egregious amounts of money to try to get company funds to pay them. They're trying to get rich off of us, right? But it's one of those things I had no idea until we let them go. And then I went into their email and I found all these, contracts that were signed between them and their friends.
really?
So it's one of those things where it's just like, I never anticipated that in business, but it makes sense, and people want to make money by working with you, and so sometimes they're gonna do unethical things, and so you gotta watch your back, but, so my word of advice on that is just make sure that everything is, you're following a proper procedure, and a lot of the things that you're doing in business are written, in email or whatever that is, and especially when it comes to formalizing your agreements with people. So making sure that there's a strict fine line on what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So
Really?
it's very easy to handle it if there is an issue. And I do agree that or I do think that, you should have that positivity going into these relationships and believe in people. But it's like the Russian KGB say, they say trust, but verify. And honestly, the best thing to imagine yourself just to be on top of it is to almost imagine that someone is going to fuck you and preparing for that in advance. And
Really?
another thing too is that another good way to be safe about it is that almost everyone has a gun pointing at you, a revolver, okay? It's up to you to give them the bullets to shoot you with. So that is something where it comes to these relationships is don't give anyone anything that's going to damage you. And something might be like, don't give someone your bank password, right?
Yeah,
That could be a bullet, right?
yeah.
Um, not that I've had any issues with that or anything before, but, um, people just do wild things and, especially when money is involved.
So, it sounds like a friend fucked you over. Is that right?
In one of my first ventures, correct. Yeah, someone that slept at my house, like, he lived with me at my parents' house when I was younger, and I was friends with him for a long time,
Damn.
and it's crazy. Yeah, he went behind my back and went to another partner of mine and caused a lot of issues with them, and, um yeah, and this whole time he was pretending to be friends with me and to take advantage of it. And yeah, it completely destroyed my relationship with my partner. And that was kind of like also amongst other things I already wanted to get out of that industry.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of caused a lot of the friction there and my want to change out of it. So
Do you think it was envy?
100%.
It
Yeah.
okay. So
And
you were
also
here and you were the guy leading the charge and you think this guy was right here and it was
yes,
envy.
100%. Yeah, I think envy is something that unfortunately a lot of people have, and I think that's why social media also causes a lot of issues is because a lot of people envy each other, and you see it all the time, and you've heard of the analogy crabs in a bucket. I mean, that's the way a lot of people are. No one really wants other people getting ahead of them, and it's unfortunate, but that's a reason why there's a lot of problems in society, and you hear about it all the time, you know. And have you ever heard of like when someone drives down the street in like a Ferrari and someone says, "Oh, fuck that guy,"
Oh,
you know, he's got
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and they have absolutely no reason to other than envy, and because he has something that they don't have,
Yeah.
and and that guy could be a piece of shit or that guy could be an unbelievable person, but, you know, that person's first reaction is, "Fuck that guy," right? So, anyway.
Envy is it is the number one thing that I fear myself, envy, because envy can lead people to do crazy, crazy things. Like crazy. There is something because I think do you know what it comes down to? It's in your head what envy is you see yourself inferior to another person. There's nothing that eats at you more than thinking you're inferior to somebody else. And your whole life's mission then becomes to do whatever you can to stop that person. Everything becomes directed like outwards. There's nothing inwards anymore. It's not, oh, let me just better myself. Maybe you can use envy or advantage to do this. It's this person in my close circle cannot be ahead of me. And it is a scary thing.
Yeah.
Um, but holy shit.
Uh, 100%. And I don't really see that much in the workplace because it's like completely defined roles. And I mean, of course, people want to grow up within an entity, but I do see that within friend groups. Not necessarily mine, but just like people like that I know, right? You just know people on social media or whatever. You see it all the time, right? Just people hating on other people for no reason, and I get it. I get it too, you know. It's sad because and I've had that for years, and I'll tell you something really, really, um, weird. A weird kind of situation is where when I ran Tap House, it was, when I was a young buck. I still am a young buck, when I was a really young buck, but, when I was running Tap House, I everyone wanted to know me, okay? I could get them in, I could get them drinks at the bar, you know, I was the guy.
Mm,
And then all of a sudden, when I was no longer at Tap House, 80% of those people that wanted to be my best friend wouldn't even text me back.
really?
I'm not kidding you, and that was such a wake-up call for me because it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, everyone is so nice to me," but it was the value that I was bringing them which determined how much of a friend they wanted to be to me,
Yeah.
and so that is something where, was actually a beautiful moment because I opened Gatsby when I was 23,
And
okay?
this is a club or what is Gatsby?
Yeah, it was an event venue,
Okay.
club, you know, bar, you name it, and it held 2,500 people. It was the best place in town for years, and, like, we actually ordered the most Red Bull in Canada for, like, a while. It's kind of a crazy stat, but anyways, so, the funny thing about that, those 80% of people that stopped texting me,
Mm.
when I opened Gatsby a month later, 2 months later, I didn't answer their texts when they were waiting outside trying to get in.
So you didn't. Wait, but okay,
After they stopped being friends with me, I said, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna text you back when I'm back on the top of the mountain again."
I gotcha.
So that's something you just can't forget, but it's just how humans work, but, you know, there's a small percentage of people, that care about you and don't care about what your job is and whatever, and those are the type of people that you wanna keep around as friends.
What about so you think it's wise to burn bridges?
I think it was just one of those things where, I don't think it's wise to burn bridges. You know, you don't want to leave a bad taste in people's mouth, and because people might go, try to damage your reputation or something like that. And then the day, also too, opinion on your reputation only matters when it's going to harm you doing business with people directly. Otherwise, opinions don't matter. It's all fluff and noise. So especially if it's people who you're not doing business with.
Yeah,
So, anyways, on that, I would never recommend to burn bridges. But I do recommend only doing business with good people, because you can get screwed over one way or another. But you know what? I have done business with people who weren't that ethical, and it ended up doing well for me too. But just knowing that
yeah.
um, is an advantage, and being very cautious of it, that this person is capable of potentially fucking you over. So just like I said, never give someone a bullet to put in a revolver against you.
Yeah.
You just don't put yourself in a position where you can get fucked over.
So that reminds me because and I still do, like, I have connections with New York people that are promoters, and, like, they're in the hospitality space, and they're really good guys, like, I enjoy spending time with them a lot, but, like, one thing I always ask them, like, "Don't you feel like you get taken advantage of?" Like, don't you think the people that hit you up all the time, they're probably just hitting you up so they could get into the club? Don't you think the girls are doing the same things? Like, what happens when you get out of this industry? Like, do you think people are gonna still wanna be your friend and text you and stuff? And I feel like a lot of it is transactional, like, truthfully.
Uh, it definitely is, but I think the key is just understanding that,
Right.
and don't be blind to it. I was, when I initially got into it, and I was kind of upset. Why aren't these people texting me back? Oh, I'm so sad. But it's like just being aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's something where you're already way ahead of the game if you just understand that, hey, this person's probably not going to be, you can play the game too to that advantage in
Yeah.
that sense.
Man,
So,
something like that just happened. There were 2 instances, very, like, just fires me up. 2 instances where something like that happened. And you know the amazing thing about that though, and I think you're on the same wavelength, is it just lights a fire in you like there's no tomorrow. It then becomes like, this mother effing person someday is gonna regret what they did. And then they're gonna come knocking on your door, and you're gonna see who's in the position of power. And you're probably not gonna like the response, if there is even a response. And
well,
so, I hold grudges. I It sounds like you hold grudges a little. Maybe it's not the healthiest thing, but it is what it is.
you know what? And the reality of the situation is whenever someone fucks you, um, you just have to. I mean, that will give you motivation,
So much.
okay? And it's not like and I do believe in this. It's you don't need to go and get equal and do something shitty to them. You just have to keep your train going and building your value as much as possible and keep climbing up that mountain
Yes.
and using that as energy to do that. And because your biggest revenge is just success
Yeah.
and showing people that, hey, you get to a point where you're like, I don't, you're such a small pipsqueak now compared to me where I am that I don't care about you anymore. And also if you wanna fuck me in the short term, you're gonna lose it on my long term.
Bang.
And because where I'm going is the top of that mountain. And that's something that is so, powerful. If you truly believe that, and I was crazy enough in myself to believe that. And, that's but it's the ones who are crazy are the ones that actually do it. I think
Yeah.
Steve Jobs said something along those lines. It's like the ones who actually believe that they can do, and it's true. 'Cause you have to actually believe it.
You have to be delusional. And thank you for clarifying. Yeah, when I say you hold a grudge, I'm not saying, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure I screw this guy over someday." No, it's just like, get
You
your
never
act
forget it,
together,
though.
but you never forget it. Your value is so high. Your value is so high, and you know someday they're gonna come knocking in. I tell that to my friends. Like, I went through a breakup, most transformative experience of my life. Like, some guys will go and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get back at the girl by hitting up all these girls and, like, going and getting with people." It's like, bro, get your head out of your ass. You want to know the best way to like really transform your life is become so freaking unstoppable that someday she does DM you again, or she's the one now telling her friends, "Hey, I dated that guy." You're goddamn right you did. You're goddamn right. And at this point, I don't even think about you anymore. Or you use
Yeah.
it still as motivation. Like that is so well said. Is really fucking
100
well said.
100%. And I honestly think at this point in my career and life that I've probably been through so much hard shit that nothing can hurt me. And physically, mentally, it is wild to think that whatever comes my way could not do anything. And I've got so many resources now and mental resilience and physical resilience that, you'd have to run me over with a goddamn train to stop me. So that's something that I genuinely feel that way. Because some of the things that I've been through is tough. And I'm not saying that to get sympathy from anybody because I don't care about sympathy, but I hope that people, in a weird way, I wish that you go through something that is so hard that it hardens you like a rock and you come out of it and you learn from it and that builds your character up to be a beast. And that's something that I wish for people to go through. Those hard times are the best times. And you might not see it while you're going through it, but it's completely true. And I find that it is not the smarts in people that necessarily take them the entire way up that mountain.
Mm,
It's the determination.
mm,
And determination, there's a study done on this, outruns smarts almost every time. Because if you're determined, you've got the fuel to learn and to figure out how to overcome all your challenges. So that is the number one thing for me at the root of entrepreneurship and in life is determination. If you don't have determination, don't even try to do what you're trying to do because you're going to lose momentum. You have to have the determination. If you truly want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be you have to have that momentum and that motivation to do it because there's so much shit that comes up that will sideblind you, whatever it might be, that you have to have this intrinsic motivation to keep you going. Or you'll just give up. So, whatever it might be, some people might get broken up with, the love of their life or something like that, shatters their heart or whatever it is, or maybe it's physical, or maybe you're trying to prove the world wrong or your parents wrong or whoever it is. And you have to have that momentum to go into it. And because otherwise, entrepreneurship, literally, or being the CEO of a company, is you're literally, there's a saying like the buck stops here, right? Everyone's problems that they can't solve go up to you.
oh,
You're
yeah.
literally just solving problems all day for 90% of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that intrinsic motivator to keep going, it's not going to be fun for you.
Well, like, Elon Musk described entrepreneurship as like you're always eating glass. I think Dana White said every single day someone is trying to tear down the shit that you're building. Every single day someone's trying to put a bullet in your head and
Yeah,
tear you down. Every single day. It
100%.
it's war. It's war.
Every 100%. There's so many, and you could be the best person on earth. There's so many times in business where I have thought that I was the most ethical person ever. I did everything right. I had the papered agreements right. And then all of a sudden, someone tries to fuck with the business, because their circumstance changed. And that's it. And I've had deals happen with people that I've known for years at the last fucking second said, Nick, I found out that you're making, let's say $10 million in this deal. I want to make 9.5 million of that, and you're gonna take 500 grand.
What?
I swear to God, it's happened more than once, and it's extremely unfortunate because you could be working on these deals for a long time, and there's a point where you're just like, fuck it. I just don't want to do business with this person at all. And it is war.
So what do you what do
So
you what do you do when that happens?
you get rid of them. You get rid of them. You don't be look, I mean, it's up to you. There is principle in business where the numbers, sure, would you rather take 500 grand or not? That's a decision you have to make, but it's also principle, right? And so Yeah, I think there are those decisions where, in business it's not just about the logic or the numbers. It's other things come into play, emotions, backing up people that are on your team. However, where we're at now, I feel like we're well beyond that. We don't have shitty partners. We've got unbelievable partners in Denovia. These are prior ventures or other ventures that we're involved with, but with Denovia is, I'm so thankful that I've been through so much shit to be able to identify who's good and who's not good.
Yeah.
And now we have just a group of people who are so um like we mesh so well together. And it's like a team. We just call each other even if we have nothing to talk about.
Good.
And, like, I've just never really had that where, you generally get that feeling that everyone's just got your back.
Yeah.
But also we're just in such a big level in business where, it's you're beyond, there's this level where you're, in beginning business, everyone's just trying to, get going, and you're dealing with, usually sub 1 million, and then you deal with deals in between, 1 and 50 million. And people are really sharky kind of in that bracket. And then anything from up there, but I'd probably say like 100 and up, you start to get the people who are really um, meaningful and deliberate about the decisions that they make and who they work with. And honestly, I'm not interested in making someone richer who's a POS. I'm
POS. What is POS?
like a piece of shit.
Okay. Alright, alright.
Yeah, to be clear, and I am, very, because at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, I don't want to look back and be like, I didn't really accomplish much with people that I didn't really care about, and who
Yeah,
fucked over everyone that they ever did business with, yada yada yada. I want to be at a table with a bunch of winners where people, are at my wedding, and show up and ask about how my kids are doing and all that kind of stuff, and who care about me. Right. So that's something where I do find that in higher levels of business that people have more integrity. And people, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. If you can't do it, you say that you can't do it, and so on. And uh, yeah, it's just, I'm very fortunate now that we have such a great team. And like our from our board to the partners that we're hands on with, to even our partners that are adopting our technology on board. They're just such big thinkers, and the only way you can get to that level is by typically being a great person. And what I mean by that is, of course, there's obviously people who make a lot of wealth, but when you get to such high levels of wealth where, you might be, negotiating some sort of a very large quantum sized deal, a lot of that has to do with your character and how you negotiate these deals, and the way you're thinking long term on them, because usually large quantum like that is usually something more longer term of relationship. But even on a lot of financing groups that want to invest in you, for institutions, they don't invest in you from day one. They want to know you for a bit before
yeah.
they write a big check, and they want to get to know you. They want to know your character, and if something's wrong with an agreement, you'll do the right thing, and that's the thing. And honestly, you do see it also in marriages, where a lot of people are like,
Yeah.
"I want you to sign a prenup, a prenuptial agreement," and then the female, the wife to be, will be like, "Okay, I'll sign it," and they sign it, but then the husband rips it up right away, and they say, "Well, why would you make me sign that?" He's like, "Well, I just wanted to see if you would."
Really?
And yeah, and that's it, and that's like, deals are done on paper 100%, but deals are done between people. Right? So,
Wow.
even if we contractually made this deal, um, wrong, like if we messed up the deal on paper, I trust you enough that you would do the right thing and repaper it the right way. Like, that's how much trust you have to have,
So it's just a
in people
test, you're
sometimes.
saying? You're saying, like, it's just a test, like, in the marriage situation. I've never heard that before.
I have partners right now that are unpapered, like um, like they're doing work essentially for free, and they have not received equity or anything yet, but I've verbally told them that they're gonna get equity, and they will. Like, there's no problem with that. It's your word that is everything.
Yes.
right? And you know, they know that I've got their back. There's no doubt about that. There's nothing that will get in the way. And that's who I want to work with. I want to work with people who are the same thinkers as me.
Well said.
And that's exactly it. So there's nothing more rewarding than that. It's incredible. And to build a team with people like that you trust is too cool. And we do, you know, because it's you've been through it, you create something valuable, and there's people that just try and take what you've built,
Yeah.
right? And it's crazy. And I've been there, you know, I've been there where, you know, people have taken so much value and left me with not a lot personally. But now I'm in the stage where people are like, "No, Nick, you need to win as well," and all this kind of stuff, and they care about me and them. It's too cool. I was actually on a call today with one of our board where we've got this financing round coming up, and we were talking about how to finance it properly. But the first thing that he thought was, you know, I don't want our smaller shareholders, if there's any dilution, we have to use this unique financing instrument to avoid dilution because our smaller shareholders are really going to feel that dilution. Like the first thing that he's thinking about is our people,
Wow.
you know, and that's incredible. Like that's how business should be done. Even Warren Buffett said this. He said, you know, and then he wants to work with people that are you know, ethical and whatever. He's like, I don't want to work with people who are small-minded and want just to, you know, to screw people over. And because if they try to, they usually find a way and they do. And but you know, that's not who I want to do business with. And I remember hearing that years ago, and I couldn't really relate to it at the time, but now I can. So
I, I
it's too
I
cool.
I don't know if you remember this, but it was when we were running in Central Park. Um, I still think about this, and I wrote this down in my notes. And so I'm gonna try to prompt you to see if you can remember it. But what do you think is the biggest red flag in a person? Like this certain thing happens, and you know you can never trust them.
Two things. I told you this. Two things is I if someone will not meet your family, like, for whatever reason, that is a massive red flag because 'cause they're probably not planning on knowing you for long, and they don't wanna get too close with you, so when they do screw over you, they feel bad about it. Number 2, is if someone has any long-term friendships, and those are 2 things to be very well aware of, is that I have never once, and it proves itself at every time. If someone is in business and they don't have long-term friends, that means that they probably screw over everyone they're around. And if they don't want to meet your family, they're probably not willing to get close to you enough to do that, to to uh, to do that. So that's those are two of the things I would say 100%.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot after you said that. It's just like it's something I never heard before, but it's so true. Like it's so
Yeah.
true, and especially the friendship thing. How do you screen someone on that though? You're like, yo, like who are your friends, or how do you dig that up?
Honestly, I don't go into things and deliberately think about them right away. I'll just be like, you know, in my shower or something, and I'm like, "Oh, Billy doesn't have any friends. I wonder why."
Uh,
You know? But, so that's like, you know, as I'm communicating with them or going to meetings or coffees or calls or whatever it is, you kinda just have these little things pop up that you think about, and that's definitely one of them. It's one of these things that's just, you know, it's always been true for me anyways.
yeah.
And you gotta be aware of it for sure.
Something else I wanted to ask because I'm curious. So like when we spent time together and we were in the sauna, right? Like, I'm freezing my ass off because I just got in the cold tub, so I'm sitting in the sauna, I'm like, "God damn it." I'm just trying to focus and, like, clock in, and you're just chopping it up with the 2 people in front of us. Like, serious, like, super genuine conversation, and there were many other instances where you did that throughout the day. Like, it wasn't even awkward, it flowed really well, like, you genuinely were curious about other people. I like, do you have tips for maybe the shy 21-year-old or the shy 18-year-old that maybe not the most confident, doesn't really know how to carry on a conversation. Is it a mindset hack that allows you to do that? Or, like, what's your
You
advice
know
there?
what? In public school, I used to be a really shy kid. Even in high school,
Really?
in part of high school, I used to be a pretty shy kid, but I love people. I love talking to people. So it's something that probably over time, like I probably used to have a bit of social anxiety for sure. And then you just keep doing it and it starts to go away. It gets better every single time.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the first date you go on and then you're hyper nervous
Yeah.
and then this you go on a second whatever it starts to like go away. And that's the same thing with everything is that you're just not prepared. For example, public speaking is a really good example of this. I used to get super nervous when I used to public speak, and to the point where like I couldn't sleep, and for like weeks leading up to these events, that I would be feeling extremely nervous. And then I remember the day of one of these big public speeches, like I had like 1,000 people there or something like that. And I had like a 15-minute speech, 20-minute speech, and um, I got a standing ovation.
Mm,
And well, I thought I didn't do well. And then I watched the video, and in my head, while I was speaking, I thought I was really nervous. I thought everyone would notice. But then I realized that's all in my head. It's all in my head, and if you screw up, it doesn't matter, and, that's another thing, is that you
yeah.
think it's the end of the world. It feels like it's the end of the world if you screw up. If you're in a conversation with somebody and you screw up, no one gives a shit, like, you're not gonna screw up anyways. What's to screw up on? You stumble a word,
Yeah.
you pause for a second, like, you can't screw up. Um, so anyways, I think that, anyone who just wants to have conversations, just go with what you feel like doing and with what's there. And the more conversations you have, the more experience you get and the better it gets.
On the topic of screwing up, I remember I would think about so, like, my best analogy for this is, like, think about a time, like, when you went out. So, I mean, this is in college for me, like, we go out, we party, I got lit, and I wake up the next morning, I'm like, "Oh, shit, like, I made a fool of myself." Like, I made a fool of myself. All these people probably see it, and they're probably only thinking about Anthony Gross and how what Anthony Gross was saying and how whatever. But, like, when you actually think about it from your perspective, like, think about the nights that you go out sober. Is there really everybody there is probably a little bit intoxicated. Everybody there having a good time. You wake up the next morning, you're not just thinking about this one guy, "Oh, this guy was drinking his," like, it really is all in your head, and you're so
It's
inward
completely
focused,
in your head.
and it just blows up for kind of no reason. That's an
It's
interesting
com-
point.
it's absolutely completely in your head.
It is.
And another thing too is even if people, let's say this, okay, you royally did something extremely embarrassing, okay, which isn't going to happen. But let's just say you did. People are going to think about it for a whole 2 3 minutes, and then they're going to move on to whatever else they're doing in their own day.
Yeah.
And also, every single person feels the same way that you do. They're worried about themselves. They're thinking about their own situations. They'll think about your situation for 3 minutes, and they might be like, "Oh, that guy's a fucking idiot. Oh, that guy's a beauty," whatever. Then they're gonna move on, and they're gonna go to something else. So even if the worst thing in the world happened, they're gonna think about it for a minute, and then they're gonna forget about it.
Yeah,
And you can see that in politics. People in politics make crazy remarks, and then a week later, they say something else, and a week later, they say something else, and then they forget about everything that's happened anyways.
literally. Like,
Literally.
people have short-term memory. That's something I always tell myself. It's like, legitimately, people have short-term memory, and part of that wraps to what you say, like, time. Like, time just kinda erases a lot of things, like, it truthfully does.
It heals everything. Well, and a crazy thing to think about is this is case in point is look when Israel and the U.S. bombed Iran, right? And that was the biggest thing in the news. And
Yeah,
then a bit later, Charlie Kirk got shot.
yeah.
I haven't heard a single person talk about Iran for a long time,
No, literally,
you know,
literally.
and it's just like that's how life works. It's about
Yeah,
today, and every day is different. I had a partner once. He before I was partners with him, or was it after? I don't remember. Guy's a little wild. This is years ago. Like when I was 23, 22. This guy was like, would rather eat glass than have students at my bar. Okay. And he was trying to do that to reject, he wanted mature people at his bar. He didn't want students at the bar. Okay.
I got
So
you.
he put a banner up and it said, I'd rather eat glass than have students at my bar. And then people just roasted him. People just absolutely roasted the guy. And then all of a sudden, people forgot about it like 3 weeks later, and people
Yeah,
still came to the bar.
right.
So that's
Go ahead.
the crazy thing about it, that no one really cares.
It's the same thing with the Trump assassination, like, I vividly remember this. Like, it happens, everybody's talking about da 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 da, and then boom, legitimately 2 weeks later, like, who's even talking about it anymore? You just
Yeah,
don't, like, media moves on, trends move on. Yeah, it's a crazy topic. Anyway,
it's
um,
wild.
alright. So, I wanna close this out. I've never done this before, so I just wanna see what happens. If you were to pose a question for everybody that's listening right now that could do whatever you want the impact to be, whatever it is that you want people to take away from it. What is one question you would ask them right now?
Like one question that people can ask themselves about.
Yes, they'll ponder about it.
I would say, what is what are those things in life that really get you fired up?
Hmm,
And don't think about money, because I'm a true believer, if you have passion in something and you care about it and it gets you excited and it builds that determination, and you should focus and hone in on that, and you'll figure out a way to monetize it and make a lot of money. And I think that is something that you should ask yourself, and there's also a difference between quality of life and making money as well.
hmm,
And essentially, how are you living? So when you're talking about how are you living, well, I've been at points in my life where I have been making gobs of money and not felt fulfilled and wondered why. I'm motivated by it, by what I'm doing, etc. But something was missing. I was chasing dopamine a little bit, but that was something that I didn't really realize. But for people who, I think asking themselves, is a difference between making money and also living a quality of life,
yeah,
like a high quality of life. And so you have to understand the difference of that. And you talk to so many people who have built, wealth for themselves. Is some people have that and they don't, but that is actually the more important thing than making money. Is how are you living?
quality of life.
So quality of life, yeah. And like I know billionaires. I know one billionaire specifically, who stressed out completely all the time. And stress is, there's different types of stress, but family's completely bizarre family situation. But and just, you can tell he's going to die on his deathbed with just not having that quality of life,
Wow.
and probably not have done things that, everything that he wanted, and yada yada yada. It's like, that you just have to be. And also too, forgot about health. That's another thing. A lot of people forget. Like, that's what I mean, quality of life. You're not sleeping well, you're not living well, you're probably die younger, all that kind of stuff. You're probably not spending time with your kids.
Yeah,
And it's sad, because that's that's the stuff type of stuff that maybe some people realize too late. But it's those things that's more important than wealth.
At
Yeah,
what
I would
at what
say
at
higher
what
living.
point though does because I know you went through a phase where you weren't sleeping at all, but what happens if you said, "Screw it, I do need to sleep in that situation?" Like, does that affect where you are today?
It's honestly, all these things are situational,
Yeah,
and your gut will just tell you, is this the right thing to do? Is this the wrong thing to do? And I am a true believer in balance as much as possible. And, because um, if you do too much of one thing, then you're going to have to lower something else. Like, something has to give. Right. So, I mean, in my early, entrepreneur days of wearing a million hats and doing all the jobs. I didn't have the ability to sleep well, right? But I was also younger. So um, now it's different because I'm making really big decisions for an entire team. So now I do need sleep to be able to sleep well because you need sleep to make great decisions.
Right.
So it was almost like I was using more of my body physically and my brain moderately, but now it's next to zero on my body and next to 100% on my brain. So it's all about the decisions I make that propel
Okay.
the company forward. So you need to treat your brain properly and give it what it needs to be able to operate functionally.
Well said. This was an awesome conversation. So we'll end it.
I am a huge dreamer, and because of that, the Gross Potential team set two very big goals to hit by December 31st, 2025. Number one is to hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and number two is to drop the number of people who watch our show but don't subscribe to us down from 92% to 80%. So the only favor I will ever ask is that if you get value from the show, or get entertainment, or a new fire lit up inside of you, please, please, please hit that subscribe button because it supports us in the best way possible. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode.